Fala galera, sejam todos muito bem-vindos. Eu sou Adriano Lenhador, sou o Star Player favorito de For Honor e hoje estarei fazendo a retransmissão da live dos desenvolvedores, a Warriors Dam. Tem 1 minuto e meio para começar aí, né? Então, se você está chegando agora depois da transmissão, pode ir na descrição desse vídeo, eu vou estar lá pontuando o tempo de cada coisa, tá? Mas a princípio aqui vamos falar na íntegra basicamente tudo que terá, né, na última temporada do ano. Lembrando que hoje é a live de revelação. Eles vão revelar, provavelmente, o novo herói, né, o novo herói viking, tanto aguardamos. Mas eu não sei se vai passar alguma coisa dele, saca? Porque esse herói vai chegar lá pra fevereiro, né? Então, vamos ver, tô ansioso. Eu sei que o pessoal tá meio desanimado, né, com os updates. Mas vamos lá. Vambora. Então, todos do chat aí que tá chegando, sejam todos muito bem-vindos. Se tiver bom o meu áudio aí, se tiver alguma coisa errada, pode falar, tá? Antes de começar, né? Salve aí pra vocês, aquele abraço carinhoso de sempre. Vou ficar mais quietinho agora no começo. Vou dar o palpite na hora que eu achar que tem que palpitar ali, né? Mas vou deixar os caras falarem aí. E é isso. Vamos lá. 17 segundos. Se tiver baixo a transmissão, me avisem no chat, por favor. Se tiver baixo o áudio deles, tá? É que se eu aumento muito o áudio deles, vocês não me ouvem. Tem uma equação aí difícil de acertar. Vamos lá. Ó, quietinho.
Welcome back to another Warriors Den. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday morning. How are you, Nolan?
I'm doing great, feeling good, feeling alive.
O
Just
tema
really
da
just enjoying this weather we're having
nova
here in
temporada
Montreal.
vai ser
Nice. I'm all
Treason.
tanked up on coffee.
Né?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
And I hope
É
you
o
all
mesmo
home
que
are ready to go
traição.
because
Tem uma
Year
Valk ali,
7,
vamos
Season
ver.
4, TU1 starts next week,
Enquanto eles estiver
December 7th,
papagaiando,
and
tá?
we've got
Eu
a packed show
posso falar
for
em
you. They've got
cima.
a
Por
lot of
enquanto
cool
eles só estão
stuff,
agradecendo,
some
eles vão
things
falar
I'm
dos
very,
drops da Twitch,
very excited for
esse
all
tipo
of
de
you to
coisa.
see. But first,
Se vocês estiverem
Nolan, what's
assistindo
going
a
on
live,
Twitch?
você precisa estar conectado na sua
Lots of
conta
things
da
to drop
Twitch,
on
tá?
Twitch.
Pra
But
receber os
before I go
drops.
any further, if you have not linked your UbiConnect account to your Twitch account yet, do that right now because you're missing out on the drops. Every 30 minutes you're with us watching on Twitch, you are going to
Então,
get
cada
a
30
scavenger
minutos
crate. And
assistindo
at the end of the
eles
show,
pela
you can
Steam,
see
desde
lucky
que
winners to
pela
win
Steam,
grand
pela
prize,
Twitch,
either 100,000
desde que sua
skill
conta
or the
esteja
year of skin
vinculada
that
ao
we
Ubisoft
give you all a
Connect,
little bit
você
later
vai ganhando
today.
aí
You can
I'm excited.
umas
This
caixinhas,
skin is
né?
fresh.
It's
E vai
quite
concorrer
certified.
So
ao
good.
aço,
Yes.
100 mil de aço, se não me engano.
Nature fresh. But a couple of things to get through real quick before we jump into all the details of this TU. The White Bonus Spirit has received its Polish Pass. So we improved the armor a little bit, made it adapted it to fit body type 1 a little bit better, as well as some clipping issues
Então,
and
ó,
some other
a roupa do
things that we're
Zanuk, né, que
working
teoricamente tinha
perfect with it.
vazado, eles
And so
oficializaram,
you
né,
guys can
no
enjoy
jogo.
that with
Então
with
tá
the
aí.
drop of the TU. So those of you who put in the time for the grind, your effort will have paid off.
I definitely did, so I'm excited. Did you grind out the skin?
I did.
Do you have all the pieces?
I did. I got it all.
That's amazing.
It was a lot of. I actually learned in the process that I quite like Jean Yu. I did not know that.
It's a great
before.
hero. It's
So,
a great
yeah.
hero.
Yeah, I tend to, I like my Vanguard Knights.
It's fair. It's fair.
But yeah, in addition to this, we also have an ongoing partnership right now with Dying Light 2.
Evento que tá tendo, né, collab com Dying Light. Eu não cheguei a ver, não tenho Dying Light. Não sei o que tá rolando no crossover, mas provavelmente alguma skin de For Honor, né?
Now's the time.
Não sou mais produtor de conteúdo como antes, galera. Desculpa. Anos atrás eu ia estar jogando Dying Light, né? Trazendo pra vocês aqui, mas enfim.
But we have a quick message from the Dying Light 2 team, so big shout out for all their work on this, and check it out.
Warriors, death duels, sword fighting, and brutal combat. All of us here love this as fans of Ubisoft's medieval fantasy For Honor, right? So when we found out we'd be able to bring the faction war to the world of Dying Light to stay human,
Eles estão falando do crossover, tá? É For Honor no Dying Light. Ficou legal, hein?
These warriors have obviously seen thousands of battlefields, but nothing could prepare them for this. Hordes of zombies.
Fiquei até com vontade de jogar agora, olhando isso daí.
Fights with them will be challenging, but those who answer the call to battle will be greatly rewarded. And for the greatest warriors out there who wish to represent one of their favorite factions, we have also prepared 3 special bundles. The Berserker bundle, which you can earn for free during the event, the Kensei bundle, and the Warden bundle.
O Warden, que da hora, hein? Sempre, né? Eu vou achar o Warden mais da hora.
Thank you, Ubisoft and the For Honor team, for the chance to create this amazing crossover. Join us on the battlefield.
Cara, legal, porque mesmo o For Honor estando meio morto, assim, sei lá, a skin de For Honor é muito bonita, né? Então qualquer crossover fica legal com For Honor.
Hope you guys enjoyed that look at the Dying Light 2 crossover. They really went above and beyond, and it looks gorgeous, and it plays well, and it's a lot of fun. So, yeah, go check it out if you want a little twist on For Honor.
Yeah. Still, love they got the whole faction war idea too. All 3 of the core factions, so good.
What's more For Honor than your faction pride and just dunking on everyone else because they chose wrong.
We know.
But we've got a lot to cover in this Warriors Den. Everything from new battle pass to hero skin. So
vai ter a skin do novo herói, passe de batalha. Não falou nada do novo herói, hein?
Rather than later, but first let's check out the Year 7, Season 4 launch trailer.
O lançamento. Deixa eu tirar minha cara aqui para não atrapalhar.
Check it out.
O inimigo veio à noite. Ele ofereceu uma escolha. Submeta-se ou morra. Porra, esse cara tá falando muito baixo, eu não tô ouvindo. Olha que skin bonita, cara. Do Warlord? Não, um Warlord com espada de 2 mãos, que isso? Será o novo Viking? Um Warlord com espada de 2 mãos, velho. Que louco. Porra. Não posso dizer que não gostei, cara. Eu achei que era uma skin, mas parece que não é skin não, hein, velho. É um Viking, né? Novo herói Viking? Será? Viking deve permanecer leais a eles mesmos. A porradaria Viking marota, né? Era pra eu ficar quieto, desculpa, eu tô comentando. Whatever, se você quiser ver o trailer sem comentário, vê o original lá depois. Esse Warlord de... é tipo um Celta Lord. Ele deu uma bica ali do Celta. É tipo um Celta Lord. Será que é uma skin do Celta? Ah, eu vou ficar muito triste, velho. É uma... mano, isso é uma skin do Celta. Puta merda. É uma skin do Celta, velho. Só de ver a movimentação dele ali deu pra matar, né? É, mas é a skin do Celta mesmo. Puta, fiquei triste agora. Eu fiquei feliz por 1 minuto. Porque vai vir a skin e provavelmente vai vir um rework, né? Tá bonito, hein, essa skin aí. Eu ia falar, né, um Warlord de Claymore.
Ready to talk about all the deets?
Absolutely.
All right, so before we get into all the details of this TU, let's take a quick look at everything that's coming up in this TU and the next. Stefan, do you want to run us through it?
Of course, my pleasure.
Vamos lá, o Stefan vai falar aqui agora. Passe de batalha chega dia 7, semana que vem. Eventozinho. A skin do Celta chega agora, dia 7 de dezembro. Vai ter mais Testing Grounds, acho que não vem o rework. Não vem o rework. Depois, eliminação realista, é legal, é bem legal esse evento. Eliminação realista é bem da hora. Depois, Justice of the Pharaohs, eu não lembro qual que é esse. Deve ser do lançamento do Magi. Olha lá, o novo herói, só fevereiro, ó. Como eu disse, tá? Dia 1º de fevereiro. Então o que a gente vai ter agora, acho, de relevante, vai ser só a skin do Celta mesmo. É, não se empolguem, galera. Eu acho que a única coisa que vai ser útil aí vai ser essa skin do Celta. E nem vem com o rework. Se viesse a skin e o rework, tava bom, né? Mas só o fato de ter mais um Testing Grounds, quer dizer que não vai vir, não.
Nice. Yeah, everybody's favorite.
Exactly.
Everyone needs a warm-up.
Last time I was hyped for the Warmonger
execution. Esse evento é bem legal, cara, do eliminação realista. Deixa eu colocar minha cara de volta aqui. Tudo bem, voltamos. Opa, calma aí.
For those of you looking for your black color swatch, this is another chance to grind that out. So mark it in your calendars. And one more throwback event later in January.
Vai ter a cor totalmente negra, né? Ele falou no evento de eliminação realista. Pelo que a gente entendi foi isso.
Exactly. Put your calendars for these as well. February 1st, new hero comes. We know this is a Viking season, so look forward to that.
Very metal.
And then new armor variations as well in that.
Vamos ver, né? Vamos ver.
We've got some more Hero Fest that we'll talk about at that point, and throwback event as well.
Nice. Looking forward to all of it. And, you know, that's a very long list of stuff coming in this TU. So let's just jump right into it. And thank you for taking us through it all, Stefan.
My pleasure. The one last piece on the list that is going to be talked about later on in the show as well will be the local tone mapping improvement that Agath will talk about.
So excited to talk about this. It's cool. Sadly, I won't be there for that segment, but I'll be in the wings. I'll be watching. I'll be watching you guys at
exactly.
Home. Better behave. No, so,
vamos ver se vai ter alguma coisa. Sempre tem patch notes, né? Mas vamos ver.
So we're in Treason. It's the fourth
installment. O que seria Treason, né? Vamos ver por que o nome da temporada é essa.
Yes. So what can you tell us about the narrative angle for this season?
A narrativa dessa temporada. Chegamos no fim do evento da injustiça. Os orcos tomaram laid siege to Mulder Village and gave the shots, join us or die. A Orcus Alliance, né, que é é o contrário da Chimera Alliance. Eu já tô perdido nessa lore faz tempo. Tá indo muito rápido, eu não consigo traduzir tão rápido assim. Calma aí, meu parceiro. Tá, é assim, a Apollyon chegou lá com o Horcus, falou ou se junta a gente ou morre, e aí o chefe da vila e o brother dele, o irmãozão Highlander Maddox, lutaram, né, pela escolha. Então provavelmente o Maddox é esse aqui, que é o irmão do chefe Warlord. E aí o Maddox, que é o Celta com a skin nova, matou o irmão dele e essa foi a última traição. Esse foi o resumo da lore.
Yeah, all my homies hate it.
Yeah. We know which side you'd be on then.
Yeah. And you can see some of Oathbreaker Maddox here, and I feel like there's some narrative elements woven into the skin itself.
É, basicamente isso, né? A skin do Celta, que é esse Maddox aí, ele chegou, tipo, matou o chefe da vila pra se unir ao Horcus. Que é a galera, tipo, meio má do cenário, né?
Lost in the Viking wilderness, on the point of freezing to death.
An easy thing to do.
Yeah, it's pretty easy
Yeah.
in Valkenheim. When he came across a saber-toothed tiger, supposedly an extinct creature, somehow survived the cataclysm. And it's a beautiful creature, very rare. Still, he killed the creature in order to survive, where its fur. And it just foreshadows how he's willing to do whatever it takes to live. And of course, his inevitable betrayal of the chieftain.
Tá falando que ele matou um tigre dente de sabre e fez esse capuz maneiro.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course the pelt is the first thing. It's the biggest thing. It's enormous. It takes over his whole body. In a way, it kind of is symbolic of his own loss of personhood. Like he's kind of put away Maddox, who did all of this treason and is channeling it all into this persona of the saber-toothed tiger. And he is the saber-toothed tiger. That is the person who has survived at all cost.
Ele meio que assumiu a personalidade de um tigre dente de sabre.
Channel all of that justification, all the guilt goes into there. He also
kind of swallowing him up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just covering his arms, covering his head, and there's this blood swipe that goes across the top of it as well, and this.
Tá bonito, né? Tá bonito, vai.
That he's been reborn as the saber-toothed tiger. He's
Ele renasceu como um tigre dente de sabre, foi batizado no seu sangue e usou os pedaços dele para fazer a sua armadura.
It's one that you can change the color of as well.
I love it.
Yes. So he's got minimal Highlander elements left on him. He's got a little bit of plaid right at his waist, so you can still see bits of that background. You can see
que dá pra ver algumas coisas do Warlander. Warlander é ótimo. É um Warlander, né? É o Highlander. Não é o Warlander. É, ele tem ali uma cota de malha meio estranha. Cara, tá legal, mas é basicamente um Warlordão.
He's also fully armored Viking.
Ficou legal porque tem bastante metal, eu gosto de armadura de metal, né? É, tá diferente. Normalmente, sei lá, tipo aquele Raider que não tinha nada, sabe, de diferente. Isso aí pelo menos, né? Tem um símbolozão da Apollyon no peito ali. Agora detalhe, essa skin do Warlord cabeça de urso, a gente quer essa skin do Warlord desde que o jogo lançou, né? Que é o NPC lá, é o NPC whatever do modo história, que eu esqueci o nome. É o Gudmander, é isso, né? Ele tem a cabeça de urso. Aí agora a gente vai ter a cabeça de dente de sabre no Highlander.
It leads all the way to the saber tooth on the guard. It's a very complex pattern for a complex mindset.
Gotcha. So I killed all these people to become who I am now. And this weapon reminds me of that. I like that, because weapons, armor, they always tell a story. Right?
Exactly.
Even in real life, every dent, every little nick, it builds the story of the piece of the weapon, of the armor. So it looks incredible. Oathbreaker Maddox will be available for all of you who are like, yes, I need my bestial.
Dia 7 agora, galera, de dezembro. Então já pode falar aí pros seus amigos. Dia 7, famosa semana que vem, né?
We've got to take a quick look at the mood board. Look at that. Such board.
Isso aí foi sempre a fonte de inspiração que eles usaram para fazer a paleta de cores, aquela coisa artística que a gente adora saber o porquê, né? Então vamos ver, vai ser na manopla que vão fazer as alterações, né? O que mudou aí além dessa fumaça para ferrar nossos FPS? Muita fumaça para cagar no nosso FPS. Tudo que a gente quer é menos fumaça e menos chuva, cara. Me dá um cenário clean, pelo amor de Deus.
hanging in the middle of the map. So if you're Tusk
Tem
fan,
lá um maluco
we've got that.
totalmente
There's even a guy
monte de
stapled to the
sangue,
wall
tá bem
with a tusk,
sanguinolento o negócio.
which is a personal favorite of mine. It's just one of those things throughout history. It's like, yeah, we stuck this guy to a wall. That's
Nossa.
a message. And
Que
you know,
violento esse cenário.
so, but in addition to map realization, we also have some new realizations for the menu and all the in-game elements. So you can get your Oathbreaker Maddox looking over the cliff.
Ele vai
on
ter lá
board.
ele em cima olhando,
We've
será?
got the-
Literally.
Se você olhar pra cima, você vai ver ele.
Yeah.
Vamos ver.
Yeah, previously only a thing that Warmonger did.
Ah, true.
Yeah, so,
Oh.
yeah. Ah, yes. see.
Ah, os Minions ficou legalzinho.
We got minions, we got podiums, we got end screens.
Tem
The
mais.
world map looking frosty, just in time for the holidays.
Mas nada, né?
And, yeah, did we show the podium? Yeah, we got the podium. Okay, I mentioned everything. And then moving on, we've got a battle pass coming up.
Passe de
for this
batalha.
season. So, let's take a look at all of the things that you
Olha aí,
guys can
galera. Vamos
get
comprar
in
o
the
passe de
battle pass.
batalha pra dar dinheiro
Starting
pro
off, we've got
joguinho
2 battle
sobreviver,
outfits
hein?
that you're gonna,
É
see
que
a
essas
theme
roupas
here.
são
We've got
muito
Traitorous and
feias.
Vision.
Cara, é uma roupa
Update
tipo,
that one.
whatever.
Fun with it. And then we've got the Traitorous Feline.
Não dá,
also
né?
looking fresh
Você
on
pagar
everybody's
dinheiro
favorite Roman
só pra
here.
ter essas roupas
Gladiator mains are like, no,
totalmente
big guns, whatever.
ridículas.
And we've got an ornament, Traitorous
Ah, mas
Tyrant.
tem
I
tem
like
um
that,
ornamento.
Smokey, 'cause you got tusks up, you got tusks
Maneiríssimo.
down. Anytime is a tusk time to clown. Traitorous adherent effect here on
Ó,
Magi.
meia
And
de
if you're
pijama.
not so hardcore to be an adherent, you can just be a traitorous supporter. So if you can't be an athlete, be an athletic supporter. And then saddle up.
Ah, isso aí
because
tem
the
muita
horses
gente
are
do
on
For
the
Honor que vai
field.
gostar, hein?
We are riding
Muitos
down
jogadores aí que vão
Musty
adorar
Bill
isso aí.
Hiram, Griffin having a great time.
O nego vai comprar o passe de
Let's try.
batalha só pra
And
poder
then
ficar dando
I'm super happy for this one. All the Viking
uma
fans
cavalgada
should
no
be too, because you can finally
cavalinho de
bloody
pau
your
ali, hein?
opponents.
Essa execução tá legal
Love
até.
the red-tail hawk there. Definitely an eagle. Definitely an eagle, not a hawk. And then we've got some Battle Pass weapons for you. A little sneak peek. We'll have the full reel of all the weapons, so you guys can debate who won and who lost in the comments. We'll do
Armas
that
com
during the
lobo
transition.
gigante estampado.
And then, wait, there's more. That's not all, because we got Frostwind Betrayal. You got to listen to me talk for a while, guys. Strap in. I'm not going anywhere. So for those of you who have never done Ice Brawlers before, why? But, you know, to also be cool, it's pretty simple. You're on the ice cracks, it breaks. Don't fall in the water, stay out of the drink, but put your friends in the drink, or your enemies too. Put everyone in the drink. Kick everyone into the drink. And so, yeah, we do have a fun thing with the event pass this time around. So the last 2 years, we've had weapons tied to ice brawlers, the brawling on the ice.
Até aquele evento
And
de
this year's a bit
briga no
different,
gelo,
except
né?
It's totally different because we're going to have another weapon set, but you can also unlock the previous 2 years weapons this time.
Vai
as well.
liberar
So
as
you have
armas
3 years weapons
dos
in
outros
this
anos,
one. So
pode
you have the
passar.
new ones and the two old
As armas que
Hopefully I said
teve
that
de
enough
drop
time.
nos anos passados, mais as armas desse
So,
ano.
last but not least, we've got some event pass items. Let's take a quick look at them. First up, we got a battle outfit, Snowy Betrayal, looking fresh on everybody's favorite.
Olha
roof.
aí, hein?
And we've also got an ornament. This one's going straight on my
Ornamento
board
muito
with
feio.
Tusks of Betrayal. I really like this one. It's very clean. I like a
Very
model,
clean,
like a-
very
like
clean.
an art deck.
Uma cabeça
And for those of you
gigante
who
de
remember the
de um
Thin
bicho
Red
cheio de
Path
gelo.
trailer from days past, nice little homage to that there. And then we've got the Holer Oath weapons. So buy and hodl, my friends. So thank you so much, Alex, Andre, Stefan, for joining me on the segment once again.
Thank you for having us.
Always happy to be here.
Always happy to have you. But we've got a lot more coming up. We're going to talk about gameplay. We've got quality of life. fixes, but
Isso,
first,
gameplay,
feast your
vamos lá.
eyes upon the full list of the Battle Pass weapons. Take it away.
Vou mostrar agora as armas do passe de batalha. Começando com uma espada feia. Ah, não dá. Você colocar a cabeça de um lobo em toda a guarda e todo escudo, né? E passando a 10 FPS também, tá bugando o meu olho. Vocês não podiam passar isso numa resolução melhor não, galera? Parece que eu tô jogando no PS4. E aí, vocês estão achando alguma bonita aí? Eu acho que você botar uma cabeça inteira de um bicho na arma fica muito caricato. Eu acho que às vezes eles poderiam fazer essas inspirações, mas de uma forma mais sutil, né? Agora toda arma tem uma fucking cabeça de um bicho, acho que é muita coisa. Ah, esse escudo do Warlord é bonito, ó. Esse é até bonito, assim. Sei lá, pra deixar na parede. Aí, quem nunca quis jogar com um shinobi que tem as foices com a cabecinha de lobo, hein? Um Massacre que tem um porcão. Um porcão, né? O Massacre do porcão eu gostei. Já que a Hitokiri é toda tosca, bota um machado de porcão nela. A clava de porcão do Shugou que combina com ele, né? Galera, eu tô gostando de ver a empolgação de vocês no chat, hein? Gostaria de mandar um abraço para todos vocês que estão comentando aí na live. Vocês sabem que eu não respondo quando é vídeo assim, né? Mas vocês todos estão no meu coração, tá? Comenta aí o que vocês acharam dessas armaduras do passe de batalha aí. Detalhe que essas aí é as que são pagas, tá? Você precisa pagar pra ter isso aí. E essas foram as armas do passe de batalha. Quem quiser aí, ó. R$30. Trintão, sei lá quanto que vai ser isso aí. É só você pagar e você vai ganhar toda essa. Agora estas são as armas do evento novo, tá? Frostwind. E aí elas são mais comedidas. Vamos ver, a espada da PK ali até achei que tá mais bonita. A temática vai ser gelo. Afinal tem o evento do gelo, né? Nossa, que escudo esquisitaço, velho. É tipo uma medusa metade caveira. Essas armas, galera, vai estar dando no evento agora, né? Se não me engano, é o primeiro evento que terá. Então, além desses sets de arma, eles vão estar liberando o drop dos sets que deram lá nos primeiros eventos do Frostwind. Então, é uma ótima chance de vocês, né, conseguir farmar armas antigas aí que talvez eu nem tenha na minha conta do PC, eu acho que só tenho lá na conta do PS4. Lembrando que assim, você jogando pra... Não precisa, parece... Se não me engano, você não precisa jogar o evento. Basta jogar qualquer modo, vai ter drop, tá? Normalmente é assim, né? Normalmente é assim. Comenta aí também o que vocês acham dessas armas, né? Eu sei que tem muitas pessoas que não podem aguardar a semana que vem para começar a jogar e fazer o seu set completo, né? Aquela galera Happy Meal que tem todas as arminhas de todos os personagens. Aquela galera pro player de invasão. Vamos lá, Patch Notes, né? Patch Notes, importante. Talvez a parte mais importante da live é nós tentarmos entender a princípio aí o que é falado no Patch Notes. Galera, quem não deixou o like na live aí, ó, agora é a hora. Aproveita esse intervalinho aí. Deixa seu like, por favor.
Welcome back, Warriors.
Olha aí, nosso querido
man, those were some awesome weapons.
JC.
I know you couldn't see because like we were off camera there, but like this is the first time I'd seen most of those too, and it's like wow.
Yeah, it looks amazing as usual, right?
Yeah, they're awesome. So super cool. Hope you enjoy those. Look forward to them next week. But we are ready to kind of jump into our next segment, and joining me on the couch today to talk about some patch notes and also a new gameplay improvement is you know him, you love him, the Lord
Novo
Savior JC
gameplay
is on the couch
improvement.
today. Yay!
Hello, hello.
It's all right. They're all clapping at home, I'm sure.
Complete newcomer. I've never been here before.
Never here. First time. Welcome. Welcome. First time.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Yeah, it's been great.
I've never spoken to you before.
Not once. Not once. So, but speaking of first time as well, we are joined by Agat, one of our graphics programmers as well. So Agat, welcome. Very.
Essa
nice to
mina é
have you on
programadora de
Thank
gráficos.
you.
Provavelmente vai ter
Do you want to
algum...
maybe tell kind of to the community a bit of what you do? Like
Deixa eu ver o que ela faz. Vamos lá.
Yeah, so I'm a graphics programmer, so anything that's related to our rendering engine.
O que é relacionado à
And
renderização.
I think Agat is the pure definition of first time, long time, right? You've been on the team for how long now?
So I've been on the team since 2014.
Yeah, so 9 years.
Almost 10
right?
years.
Yeah, almost 10 years. It's
A mina
crazy.
tá há 10
That's
anos
a
no
long
time
time.
de
Yeah,
Forona.
on my watch. Okay, so wow, amazing stuff. And so graphics programmer, the rendering, all that stuff. So the reason why the game looks incredible is it's because of you. It's okay if you want to take credit for that.
Convenhamos que a parte gráfica do
Exactly.
Forona é foda,
There it
né?
is. She took credit for it.
Convenhamos.
It's done.
Because of me.
Vamos ver o que ela vai falar.
So no, just thank you, Nolan. And as you just said, we're always trying to improve foreigners' visual quality.
That's right.
That's
Tá
why
sempre
I'm
tentando
very
melhorar
happy today to
a
talk about a
qualidade
new graphic feature, new graphic option that's
Forona,
called local tone mapping.
qualidade
So what
gráfica.
is local tone mapping?
I was gonna ask because, like, I mean, it's one of those buzzwords. And I
Tentar
don't know if it's a
entender primeiro,
buzzword
depois eu
per se,
explico,
But
vai.
you hear it around, you know, and you just try to pretend like you know what they're talking about. But I mean, I'll be honest with you, I don't. So could you explain
Yeah,
a bit about it?
I'm here for that. So
Thank you. All right.
tone mapping without the local, just the tone mapping. Tone mapping is the name of the transform we apply to the frame to send it to your monitor or TV. So we render the frame, then we do tone mapping for it to go on your TV. And that transform, we offset it using the average exposure of the frame so that it's different if the frame is very dark or very bright. But as you can imagine, It does not work very well if, in the case of frames that have like a lot of contrast. For example, if you're in a dark room and then you see the sky through a big window and you take the average of that, well, what happens is that you lose a lot of details in the very dark and in the very bright parts of the frame.
Okay.
That's why we did local tone mapping. So the idea of local tone mapping is that instead of using one average value, we are now using multiple exposures. Meaning the dark parts of the frame are not going to be exposed the same way that the bright parts of the frame. So we get back those details without losing the average.
Mano, é um negócio
Quality of the look of the
Yeah, and we can kind of
extremamente
video,
só para o gráfico ficar mais bonito, literalmente. Ela não entende que a gente quer mais FPS.
But it kind of like it's kind of like the brightness, right? So you kind of
É um negócio com a luz, é basicamente o gráfico de luz. Resumindo.
If there's like light and dark, it kind of all gets down to the middle.
Vê que no da direita você consegue ver melhor os detalhes com relação à luminosidade e escuridão. Basicamente isso.
Because you look at it and the detail and the texture right above the archway at the bottom, like you see it so much more. You see the texture really, really well. It's super cool.
Yeah, you can see all the barrels.
Ela passou um reshade, tá ligado? Usou um mod de luz.
Yeah. Wow, super cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you can really see the difference here, and yeah, it looks incredible.
Em alguns eu tô olhando uma grande diferença, mas assim.
So local tone mapping is a graphic option in our
sei lá.
quality mode on current gen,
Meio
PS5 and Xbox One X.
Meio irrelevante.
Series X.
Xbox Series X, sorry.
I get confused with a lot of
it's very, and on PC, and so it's disabled by default, so I really encourage you to go and try it, and I hope you'll like it.
On PC, go turn it on like right now.
Yeah.
And if you
maybe next
well,
week.
yeah.
Todo mundo vai colocar no low para ter mais gráficos, mais FPS, então.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome. Thank you so much for
Foi
sharing that, kind of explaining.
Buff casual. Casual.
That. And again, it's I will say this once, I'll say it 1,000
É coisa para
times.
Pedrinho
I'm
ver.
impressed by the fact that we just
Isso não nos afeta.
people on our team like yourself who just continue to push improvements and continue to just like push on the quality and the features of the game like this. After 7 years live, like it's amazing that we are able to still continue to do new things like this, to deliver new content like this. So that's really cool. So thank you very much for sharing.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Cool.
10 anos na equipe para fazer isso, mulher.
From that too, we have some patch notes.
Patch notes, vamos lá.
So,
right.
JC, do you want to walk us through it?
Yes, so let's go. So patch notes for year 7, season 4. So first up, we have something with the Dodge Bash changes.
Nossa.
Right? So, if you've been playing,
todos os bashes para frente, agora vão perder o tracking.
Everybody that had a front dodge bash was
pra mim,
right?
Puta, isso é ruim, hein, mano.
But then what ended up happening was that we had a bit of an unexpected thing that happened, which is it widened a gap in which your opponents could dodge your front dodge bash at a much wider window without being able to be punished whatsoever. That was not our intent, and so we were doing a couple of things to make sure that this situation doesn't happen again. Just to be clear, on live before, when they were 500, there was 2 one-frame windows where if your opponent dodged in any of those windows, they were 100% safe. Clearly, it's a one-frame thing. It was super hard to time. Yeah. In this case, the window was a bit larger. So what we ended up doing is that we adjusted the time, the tracking of all of these front dodge bashes, so that you have to dodge them 100 ms later to properly, for the tracking to kind of really break and to make sure you're going to dodge them. So it means that early dodges will be beaten by delayed bashes. Late dodges are beaten by either early bashes or like front dodge into guard break. So we've adjusted that like really hardcore to make sure that there is no more of any of those windows whatsoever, so that we really go towards the intention that we had, which was making those attacks like really good openers and ways to open up your opponents and not have moments where, well, I don't care, I'm just going to dodge at this timing and I avoid everything, and then it kind of defeats the purpose, right? So it took us like a bit of time to figure that one out, but now it's going to be live next week, so that's great.
Nice.
On top of this, to make sure that the front
entendi
dodge
muito
guard
bem,
break
não.
worked, we also did a pass on Conquer, Yorm, and Zanhu specifically because these 3 heroes had a longer front dodge recovery. And because of that, the front dodge into empty guard break would not catch those super late dodges.
Gotcha.
So because of this, we've lowered that by 100 ms. They're all I think they're at 900 now for all of them. They've been lowered by 100, but I think they're all at 9. So because of this, it only applies to those heroes. But because of this, you should be able to reliably really catch all those super late dodge attempts if you need to. But if you buffered your bash, then those late dodge attempts are going to get beaten anyway. So that kind of works. On top of this, we've also applied changes to Medjai and to Tiandi. So for Medjai, we had a little experiment going where we did the front dodge bash at 100 ms in their front dodge instead of at 3 because axe mode was really, really underperforming. But that was a mistake, right? Like it happened. We're all human and it's okay. But that was a mistake. The biggest issue it caused, outside of being very, very, very strong from neutral, is that there's, in some cases, if you hit Medjai with a light and then you did a heavy that was slow enough, Medjai could recover fast enough, buffer into a front dodge bash, and then beat the following heavy, which was really, really something we did not want to happen.
Tá, eles vão diminuir pouco a velocidade do bash para frente do Medjai, que é com o machado, né? Tava muito rapidinho, pelo que eu entendi.
Palm into light finisher, and you canceled the recovery of your light finisher with another palm, like front dodge palm, you could get interrupted by the opponent. Those changes created a situation where this could not happen anymore. So you could say, yeah, it's the same on like Orochi, for example. The difference is Tiandi's front dodge light is undodgeable. So with Orochi, if you're facing an Orochi, if you see that this is happening, you can buffer a dodge, and you're going to beat the palm and the front dodge light. Whereas with Tiandi, you could not. So the only option that you had was I have to make a super difficult read against the bash or the light that's undodgeable. And so for this, to fix this, we basically just delayed the entry into palm strike at 366 in the front dodge, right? So it was at 300. Now it's 366.
Nesse caso, eu não preciso entender inglês, eu preciso saber de todas as mecânicas para explicar, porque eles não estão passando comparativo do que era e do que vai ficar, tá ligado?
Now, if you mash light in this situation, you're going to trade, and since you're trading against a bash, well, you win because Tiandi's not going to get any damage. That kind of works out there, works super well. And that really helps resolve those really frustrating situations that we've been seeing all.
Então, teoricamente, pelo que eu entendi, vai ser um nerfzinho no bash do Medjai e um pequeno buff na palmada do Change.
But also, like those single frames sometimes mean the difference between something is reactable and something isn't.
Right.
And as we've talked about before, at 433, it's unreactable for everyone. And so this is great because with these fixes as well, let's say you get matched up with players that are like super strong, right? That are reaction monsters, they still can't reliably dodge these bashes and have the good thing. They can react to their front dodge, but they still have to make a read as to what you're going to be doing, or you're going to buffer it, delay it, whatever. So because of this, it really equalizes the playing field and it makes it a lot more viable with absolutely everyone. So that's amazing.
Nice.
And then,
aparentemente vai padronizar, né?
Opa!
Nossa, a instância ininterrupta agora vai ser a 100 ms? Porra! Vai voltar super hiper armor da Rito? 100 ms? Porra!
They now gain uninterruptible stance at 100 ms. It used to be at 300. Now at 100, we really, really want players to be able to use this hero, use the heavies, target swap them.
Bom pra caramba. Basicamente isso daí, galera, vai aumentar a Hyper Armor da Hitokiri no Endless Myriad, que é a sequência de heavy attack, que pra mim é a coisa mais forte que ela tem, né? Oh, que bom, Hitokiri buffada, hein? Agora eu fiquei feliz.
But it still works really quite well. So that's amazing. And to go with this, we've also adjusted the weapon trajectories for all of her heavy attacks.
Todos os ataques pesados dela vão ter um alcance maior. Ótimo. Tá precisando, né? Convenhamos.
Really give the hero really good team fight ability, be able to trade, use those attacks, defend yourself while attacking, something that we really like to have on certain heroes. Hitokiri is one of those heroes, so that's great.
Mas os recovers dela continuam um lixo, né?
Well. We also removed the unenterable stance on Meikai Rift,
que é
which is your
Meikai
light
Rift?
finisher.
O light finalizador se tornou oficialmente inútil.
But the damage on it is lower. It's slow, so the armor doesn't last as long.
Ele é um lixo, não servia pra nada. A única coisa que tinha era uma Hyper Armor. Tiraram a Hyper Armor do light finalizador da Hitokiri. Ou seja, inútil. Espera aí.
So this might be like, what does this mean? But basically it means that if I'm a neutral, I hit you with a light, and then I go into kick, you can interrupt me with a light on your own, right? So we really want to, again, promote the usage of her heavy attacks, her charged heavies.
O chain link timing do chute da Hitokiri pro ataque leve foi aumentado, para você não poder interromper o chute com o light attack. Quando você dá pro pesado, o pesado, mesmo que o cara defendesse, ele tinha aquele heavy reach reaction, né? E você conseguia chutar melhor. A questão é que ninguém usa o light attack da Hitokiri, então tipo, whatever.
Now it seems she's usable like in Dominion with like some pairings. It's super interesting. They're able to do like super interesting ganks.
Isso vai servir mais pra punição mesmo. Esse Chain Link Time, esse último buff aqui, ele vai servir mais pra punição, tipo, punir um heavy. Aí você dá o light e entra no mix-up de chute, sem ninguém te interromper dessa vez. Cara, é um buff bom, na minha opinião, pra Hitokiri. Ainda ela tem os recovers horríveis, né? E assim, esse light finalizador foi um nerf desnecessário, ao meu ver. Vamos ver, né?
And that's like, well, C tier, they're good, they're playable still. They're not the best picks, but they're still playable, so it's super cool.
Basicamente, melhorou o que ela tinha de melhor e tá certo.
Is really happy about the fact that all of these changes we've been doing are great. We've been doing a lot of reworks. It might look like it's slowing down a little bit because we're doing these changes, we're doing a lot of stuff.
Parece que é só isso, hein? Medjai só teve o nerf do Bash. E o Warden, foda-se. Deixa o Warden lá. Vai dar muito trabalho.
And then it can be too much. It's daunting. Players come in. There's like 8 million changes to every character. Like, what am I doing? What's happening? So we're kind of trying to like still do changes. We still want to do balancing. We still need to do these things. But we're trying to be a bit more reactive and a bit more focused on what we do than trying to do like big major white sweeping changes.
Yeah. Well, and again, big system changes like this too, just like with the dodge bash. You know,
yeah, right. So that was pretty big. But yeah, we're trying to push towards making sure that like every hero is viable, right? Just having these changes makes Conk, not Conk, but Conk, but Centurion, for example, way better because if all of a sudden his Legion kick is fully unreactable, you actually have a really good opener with Centurion, which lets you go way better into like what your other options are. So a lot of that kind of plays into this as well. Where we're trying to make the game like a little bit more accessible. We're trying to make sure the skill gap is still there, but that the ways that you initiate with opponents are less about am I able to react to the attack itself, but what am I able to react to that's surrounding it, right? So it makes for a much more dynamic.
Cara, eu fiquei impressionado como esse discurso dele é totalmente diferente com os reworks, com as coisas que eles fazem. Ele sempre fala esse discursinho de balanceamento aí, e na hora de lança um personagem totalmente ao contrário do que eles estão falando.
A lot of this feedback that we get, especially when we release something like the Dodge Bash, changes, and we see a lot of her feedback. But for those of you who maybe don't know, we actually have a dedicated like feedback tool for reporting like bugs or other issues, and it's called the For Honor Bug Reporter. This is honestly, it's
Bom, eles têm agora direto no site da Ubisoft bug reporter lá para vocês parar de me mandar no Facebook. Entra lá e manda direto pros caras.
And you know, when you do use it, like as much information you can provide, or videos or screenshots, you just please make sure to add as much as possible. We do look at these things for sure. We have teams that are in charge of that. So
I get people that are looking at these things like poking me almost every day, going. So what do you think
É, o
about
patch
this?
notes é só
Really
isso.
take that into
Eles
consideration,
falaram que vão
right,
fazer
to see
poucos
if
ajustes, que eles estão
something- 'cause sometimes
trabalhando
it's
nos
just feedback, and it's great to
reworks e
just
tal,
see that feedback, right?
mas
Because a
não
lot
me
of people just
convenceu
put
não.
feedback on there, and it's great to even just have that. Sometimes it's genuine bugs that we hadn't seen before. That makes you go, okay, there's a little problem here, so we're looking to like fixing them and try to address that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, honestly, it's a great tool, and again, we love your feedback. So please continue to send it our way. What you like, what you don't like, it's okay. Just send us your feedback. We really like to be involved in that.
Bom, é um canal
Very
direto,
cool.
galera,
Alright,
para vocês,
so that about
quando não
wraps it up for this
conseguir
segment, folks,
logar,
but,
qualquer
don't go
problema, já
anywhere,
entrar em contato
'cause
com
coming
eles
up
lá.
next, we're going to talk some testing grounds as well. That's coming up, so JC will be here.
Agora
But
eles vão
again,
falar de
just
um
wanna say thank you so
novo
much for
testing
joining
grounds.
us, and,
Será
thanks for
mais
local Celta
testing
now.
grounds do Celta? Será que além do
It's
Celta vai entrar
It's
outras
amazing,
coisas?
so.
Vamos
Alright,
ver,
so
né?
next week, you look out for that in the performance setting. So, yeah, so stick around, don't go anywhere. We'll see you.
Então, basicamente, nesse patch notes aí, a gente teve um ligeiro nerf na instância de machado do Medjai, um pequeno buff pro Tianji, pelo que eu entendi. Que mais? E um buff da Hitokiri, né? É isso. Vamos ver agora no Testing Grounds. Provavelmente eles vão falar, nós escolhemos muitos feedbacks do Celta, mas queremos mais feedbacks, vamos mudar, não sei o que lá. É sempre assim, no Testing Grounds ele acrescenta um monte de coisa maluca, aí depois eles começam a tirar tudo, aí o Celta vai ficar tipo igual ele é, só que com um ou outro negocinho a mais. Vamos ver, né? Ou não. Será que teremos de Testing Grounds? Enquanto isso eu já venho. É, galera, nosso joguinho tá cada vez menor, né? Infelizmente. Mas estamos aí. Com muito amor no coração. Tentando trazer aqui um pouco de informação. Então, por enquanto, de relevante, nós tivemos só skin do Celta. Eu acho que esse buff da Hitokiri é bem interessante, vai mudar.
And we're back once again with
Vamos
Mr.
ver.
JC.
Yes, hello.
Tá com o controle na mão, hein?
The savior of balance.
I am.
Yes.
I also
Awesome.
I want to say I didn't know Nolan before. I still don't know who you are.
Oh, I'm Brian.
You're Brian.
Ah.
Nice to meet
I
you,
do
Brian.
stuff. Hey, what's up?
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a testing grounds coming December 14th through December 21st. Quick note. Later in the show, you're going to see an asset that says the 24th. That's wrong. It's the 21st. It's the 21st. We donked, but, it's okay. It's just
That's
a
a
date.
week still.
Yeah. So it's the 14th through the 21st. But yeah, let's just dive right into it.
PK
and see.
Medjai
Expecting
e
this to
Highlander?
I know, but they don't.
Medjai? Como assim?
So in this edition we're doing three things, right? We're doing some Peacekeeper changes,
Dança na PK?
some Medjai changes,
About time.
and we're doing Highlander round 2, right? So I'll go over it as we go. We'll start with Peacekeeper, right? Because we want to see what's going on here.
PK.
So Peacekeeper right now is pretty good in duels.
Ela é
right?
muito
Like,
boa
she
em
has, like,
duelos.
Beast in duels.
Yeah, she's a beast in duels, right? Like
Yeah.
she has like pretty good offense. But
At
she
least
has
when I'm playing against
right,
her.
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. Okay, but the thing is, when you're playing Dominion, when you're playing like more
Jogando
like,
modus objetivo, ela é um
team fight games,
lixo.
basically, right?
Mhm.
Anything you have like team fights going, she struggles from external quite a bit because she relies on her bleed, and so because she relies on her bleed, and the only way to effectively apply bleed is really going to be through guard break, or maybe if you're lucky, kind of peel with into a
Ela depende muito do bleed e tal.
We've done something a little bit different with Peacekeeper, right? So we've added a new move to her, which is a front dodge bash.
Novo movimento.
But
Um
as you'll
bash.
see,
PK
it
tem um
is
bash.
slower, right? So right now it's
meio lento.
766 ms. You can do it at 100 ms to 500 in your front dodge. It doesn't chain on miss. So if I go here and I miss, well, I didn't miss, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't chain on miss.
Bash para dar
when
bleed.
It lands, it guarantees a deep gouge, which bleeds your opponent.
Bash que garante bleed. Bash meio lento.
This is not variable time, right? So it's a straight 766 right now. We did this
Bem
because
lento.
we didn't want her to have a bash from neutral in 1v1 situations. Her offense still quite works, right? So this works well. All that sort of stuff kind of is good. She has good ways to defend herself and to apply bleed. But like I said before, when you're outnumbered, when you're external from an opponent, they could just block external towards your way, and then Peacekeeper was like, well, I can't do anything.
Yeah,
I can't
GG.
bleed, right? So by having a slower bash, you can still use it. You can rely on your teammates to let you guarantee it. You can rely on a bunch of different things to make sure that it lands. We've seen it land a ton. Like if you look at Magi, for example.
É bash lento para ela aplicar o bleed na teamfight, para ela poder usar os imbloqueáveis. É isso. É tipo opening para teamfight externo dela. Só que não falou nada de fintável, nem nada. Só falou que é lento pra caralho, tipo igual do Magi. Ainda usou do Magi como exemplo.
Because also the thing is, like Peacekeeper has been like she's not really necessarily a really bash character, so we wanted to make sure that she doesn't rely on
Tipo, seu aliado garantir o bleed e aí você vai ter os imbloqueáveis para abrir o cara.
Put a tool in the kit there for when she's
exactly right. It's a very, very, very targeted tool for very specific situations. The other thing to note is that this animation right now is placeholder. It is not the final animation. The animation team is super hard at work into making it look even better. So we can get feedback on this if you want, but it'll change.
I think a few people in chat have mentioned it already.
Yeah,
so
probably.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so let me do it again here. So yeah.
Olha, é isso. É bash para aplicar
bleed.
bleed.
Don't worry about it, right?
Eu acho
a couple of other
válido.
As well. So it's going to be a bit hard here to show it, but we've also adjusted the trajectories. They detect the weapon trajectories of her side heavies. So because of this now, like these attacks hit further out, a little bit flatter. So she's going to be able to defend herself better when she's outnumbered. Again, same thing as we had with
deu uma hitbox melhor pro heavy lateral dela.
Earlier, where having those slightly larger trajectories really helps in keeping opponents off of you.
That makes sense. She's got an arming sword.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that kind of makes sense there.
Yeah.
So that's great. Another thing that we've done, I don't know if you remember, way back when, we did a change.
The time before time.
The time before time, right?
Yeah.
Where we changed the input on her deflect attack, right?
Right.
It used to be on light, and we put it on
Mudou o
heavy.
input do light pro heavy. Falei isso na minha live esses dias.
You kind of had to option select, like do like light heavy whenever you did a dodge to make sure it would land. You would go into it, and it felt kind of like a bit odd. But then looking back at it, like we've been looking back at it, we've been wanting to do this for a while, because it's an attack that bleeds. All of her attacks that bleed come from her dagger. Her dagger is always on the light attack button. So we've actually reverted this, and now it's back onto the light button input. I know a certain frozen person that's probably in chat right now that is ecstatic.
Ele tá falando que o deflect era no light, depois foi pro heavy.
So that's great.
Quero saber onde ele vai chegar agora com essa
it
conversa.
Really, like, it feels better with the character as well. It makes like it's a lot more in line with what she does.
That makes sense why. Well, it's one of a list of reasons why.
Mas vai voltar pro light? Porque o dagger cancel é com light, o bleed depois o heavy é com light. Então... Mas não sei se vai mudar ou não. Ou se ele falou só por curiosidade. Mudou o custo de estamina reduzido pro zone attack da PK.
Okay, so that's there. Again, you'll be able to use your zone attack a lot more often. Really good part of her mix-up as well. The second hit is unblockable when you're bleeding, so again adds a lot of pressure. Super cool. And then finally with Peacekeeper, the last thing we've done is we've removed the strict input requirements on her stabs when she guard breaks and on deep gouge. So for example here, right? I'm not that good at the time these or whatever. Now I can just go mash.
Nice.
Right? And it works, no problem. Same for deep gouge, right? I can mash it and it's going to come out. Before, if you mashed it, it really didn't come out. It's good because like it's a lot easier to input, but at the same time, if you still want to do, like stab into like into a throw, for example, right? You can do throwing.
Nice.
If you mash it, your third stab is going to come out. So you still have to have a bit more of like the input, the clean of I'm going to do tap tap and doing it. But at least like it makes it a lot more accessible to just mash it.
You don't have to have the timing specific, but it's not going to let you throw in 8 inputs to light and then still
exactly, right?
Yeah.
So
Mudou o input das facadas de novo.
You just don't have to also like,
Desmudou, né? Tinha mudado.
50-pound brain it.
Aí agora voltou ao que
era,
é isso?
Like with Shinobi, right? Shinobi has the same type of thing when you do sickle rain, where we remove the input, the strict input requirements for doing those tabs. But at the same time, if you want to do like stab into backflip, because you get better frame advantage, for example, you still have to do it consciously and just not just smash and then try to do something, right? Happens to me all the time, so I'm well aware of how bad I am at this. So that's kind of good there.
I still won't be able to do
Tá.
it.
Right?
Pelo que eu entendi, antigamente quando você dava a facada da PK, você tinha que fazer num time certo as facadas. Aí depois tiraram esse time, você esmagava o botão e ela dava as 3 facadas. Agora, pelo que eu entendi, eles vão voltar esse time específico.
Wide boy.
Yeah, right, the wide boy. There's something that I think a lot of people have been requesting for a long time, right? Don't you remember, like when we launched, even people were like, oh, I wish I could switch modes constantly in the middle of a fight because I don't like having to do back and guard break to switch and I'm kind of stuck and I can't do anything.
Yeah, huge point of feedback. I want to be able to just
exactly right
between
guess
modes.
What? We did it. So now Medjay has a new move that is accessible from either staff mode or axe mode.
Houve movimento com Medjay.
Zone attack. So after any attack that Medjay does, if you do zone attack, you switch modes and you go into
nice.
It counts as a heavy.
Legal.
So if I go into a heavy afterwards, like if I go into like back into staff mode, I go heavy, zone into a heavy, I go to my heavy finisher. If I go,
ele vai trocar de stance no meio do rolê, ó. Que da hora.
It really counts as a heavy. So your next heavy that you perform, like if you do another heavy right after that zone attack, is going to be the one with the special properties.
Okay.
So in staff is going to be like.
Caramba, isso vai ficar bom, hein?
Ele
já troca, já dá o bash, já dá um ataque em zona de novo.
You had that flow. And also what's kind of cool is you can go and zone into zone, constantly switch as much as you want.
Rafflecopter goes
right?
Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh,
you can go kind of nuts, but that's kind of interesting, right? So you can, it really adds a lot to this flow and really go into, you can go ham in what you want to do, but it's also super cool.
Só não entendi qual que é o input.
Yeah.
Para trás de X o input?
On top of this, we've also removed the armor, the uninterruptible stance on staff mode, chain lights and light finishers. Mostly because we want to make sure that Medjay has, when you're in staff mode, like it's super strong, right? You have like those big trajectories.
Vai remover hyper armor?
That uninterruptible stance constantly. And so it made the hero super difficult to peel when like, and Medjay didn't really have to think, you just did like light heavy, you didn't really care. But now, because of this, you need to be smarter into how you play and be more aware of what's going on.
Olha só, não vai poder mais ser um macaco e esmagar botões.
Like most players are going to be able to be good enough to hit you right in between those little timings, so that you have to be a lot more conscious as to what you're going to be doing.
O Light não vai ter hyper armor, é isso?
But it's I think a well-deserved nerf.
Yeah.
Like staff mode has been like overperforming for a while, so that was kind of necessary. And last but not least, the light finisher in axe mode is now undodgeable, right?
O leve finalizador é inesquivável.
Is that when you do a bash into a light, right? So that's cool. That kind of works as usual.
É, vai ser um mix-up forte, porque ou você dá o bash ou você dá um light perseguidor mega rápido. Porra, mega mix-up, porque esse light é teoricamente irreagível, né?
Right, it's super annoying, right? Because then the offense that the hero has was not as strong as it should have been. And so we had to choose between putting undodgeable on the light finisher or on the chain heavy. And we decided to put it on the light finisher because we really wanted to keep that identity.
Mas o light é finalizador também, né?
When you're in axe mode, when you do heavies, the only property you really get is unblockable at the end. And it became like super rainbow, like, you know, like Christmas tree-ish, even though it's kind of the season. But like you would get blue into orange and getting all those kind of crazy things. So instead we put it on light finishers. It also emphasizes the fact that as a Medjay, if you do this, right, light, we're back
Bash,
to
o light, você não vai ficar batendo infinitamente, né?
but I did get damage.
O Light é finalizador. O Light perseguidor ele sempre vai ser finalizador. Aí você vai voltar pro neutro, né?
Super easy for everybody to react to, even though they're 500 MS lights. You still have to kind of know what you're doing. The heavy still work. Heavy feint to guard break, heavy feint to parry still works. All that sort of stuff works. But you really want to make sure that you had that option now. So you have more guaranteed damage. You're scared. Your opponent will be scared of dodging. And if they're scared of dodging, it means your heavies are probably going to land more if they're blocked. Then if they're blocked, you get access to your finisher.
Tem que ver como vai estar a velocidade desse Light aí também. Porque se for 400 ms.
Kind of the TLDR should feel a lot better to play, a lot more fluid, but a little easier to crack.
Exactly.
And solve some of those like pain points of fighting against Medjay.
Então é isso, o Medjay ele vai ficar mais fluido, questão de gameplay, o que eu discordo, porque ficar dando Light Heavy é mais fluido com o Hyper Armor. Mas assim, tentaram deixar ele mais inteligente e menos mamaco, né? Foi meio rápida a explicação, mas basicamente é isso, galera. Eu só não entendi muito bem o input da troca de guarda ali. Parece que é pra trás e quebra de guarda, igual normalmente é. Mas acho que não vai ser só no recover cancel, vai ser a qualquer momento. É isso. Ai, vamos ver o Celta. Depois eu volto, no fim da live eu volto para tentar entender de novo isso aí. O que eles vão falar agora é o mesmo do último testing grounds. Forma ofensiva. Tem essa esquivinha rápida.
But at the same time, it was kind of problematic because it unbalances, because it it had too many issues, right? You would unbalance somebody, so you got your guaranteed heavy afterwards, which is, you know, what kind of handler was kind of about on live right now. But at the same time, because it unbalances people, you had allies that can go and just go, somebody's on the ground, let's, you know, hit them for all we've got constantly. If you had a Yorm or Centurion nearby, it's like, well, guess what? You're dead.
Yeah, you're gonna get jumped
off of a defensive maneuver, which is not something that we really wanted to have. So instead what we've done is we've added a new side dodge attack, which is on heavy, so if you side dodge and you
side dodge heavy com da stance ofensiva.
Yep. It's getting reworked. It's similar-ish, because we still want to have like trajectories and stuff, and we still able to hit people externally. But at the same time, like it's a lot safer. It lets us balance the damage of it as well quite well, because it's on a heavy, it can execute, so that's kind of good. But it doesn't
14 de dano.
Upwards, like close to 30 damage, just because you managed to do a side dodge and got into something.
Dano no padrão de esquiva, né?
And for the animation hawks in chat, just to make sure everyone heard it, placeholder animation.
Yeah, placeholder, right? This is the exact same animation as we have on offensive, on defensive form rather. Sorry. But it is getting changed, so that's good. I saw like a prototype of this one.
Yeah, nice.
It also kind of fast folds back into offensive stance as much as you want. You can go into like, if you don't do anything, you go into defensive. So it's all the usual stuff that we have, but really to have that aspect of a side dodge attack here.
Você ainda pode entrar na stance depois de qualquer ataque, né?
Nice. With this, we still kept Caber Toss on front dodge, right? But we have removed the change we had done. We reverted it.
We got a lot of feedback.
Yeah, we got a lot of feedback on this where like we sped it up, right? We had sped it up because it was landing much more often. And so getting stuck in that animation constantly didn't feel super good. So we've reverted it. So now it's back to the timing we had before, right? So
isso aí voltou a ser como era.
Lovingly looks into your eyes before you chuck it down. So, but that's one of the feedback we've got. Like I remember seeing that feedback a ton from people.
Yeah, we saw feedback on both sides. Both like it doesn't feel good to be in this all the time, and also from Highlander mains saying, like I missed that moment of like gotcha.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know.
So we reverted that specifically to make sure that we were good for this. Another change that we've done is that top light in offensive stance is 400 ms. It used to be 5, so now it's 4. So you have that 400 ms into every single stance now. That's great. It's, you know,
light mega rápido. Top light, né?
It's enhanced, right? So you're like, well,
I love the pommel bonk every time. It doesn't matter, right? Any hero, any game, the thunk.
Yeah. That's great. Next up, we have zone attack. So it's kind of hard to show right now, but we've adjusted the weapon trajectories on his zone attack as well, so that you were able to hit minions and opponents more reliably externally. There was some issues with it that we actually managed to resolve, so it should be a lot more reliable at hitting people outside. I know I had a lot of players send me videos of I'm doing zone attacks and then the sword
and it's just
through like minions and stuff. So that should be all fixed right now. And then the last change that we've done might be a little bit hard to show, but basically we want Highlander to be able to enter offensive form a little bit easier, right? And have less risk to do it. So we still have the I throw a heavy, I feint into offensive stance. That's great, but then from neutral, if you hold heavy, you go into it, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And so at higher levels, at most levels actually, if you see a Highlander doing this, you could just light them out of it.
Yeah.
Every single time you see him enter, you light it, right? That's why those backstep lights were necessary, because you had to backstep into offensive stance.
Yeah.
So you would be safer.
Otherwise, every Nobu on the planet's gonna boop.
Exactly. So what we've done is something a little bit tricky, where you can now cancel the entry of offensive form from neutral 266 ms earlier. You can do it into a dodge. So normally if you look at the time it takes for me to like go heavy and then before I'm in, or I can do whole and then dodge a little bit earlier. And so from our testing internally, from what we've been looking at, it means that your opponents can no longer just randomly throw a light when they see you enter it, because you can go dodge into, it's like a dodge into a side dodge attack, for example, and you're going to beat their light, their recovery, everything there. So it should make entering offensive form from neutral.
Tá, você vai entrar mais rápido na stance ofensiva. Você vai conseguir dar uma esquiva antes do cara te dar um light attack. Basicamente é isso. Se o cara for dar um light para interromper a sua stance ofensiva, né?
It lets you go into it a little bit safer even when you're closer. So your opponents can't just light you out of it constantly.
Well, it still maintains that like highly technical.
Yeah, of course, right?
Because
if I want to go into like this, right, I have to go dodge, do it. So it's like it's tricky, like the holding, not holding, mashing, dodge, you get into it. So we still want to have that feeling of the inputs are tricky on Highlander. You have to use.
Então é isso, você vai entrar na stance ofensiva e o cara já vai te interromper, você já consegue entrar e esquivar e punir ele com um dash attack, por exemplo. Agora se ele pintar um heavy, te dá um parry. Não precisa cancelar a stance, porque ele dá o dash attack na stance, né?
Except going into them with Highlander is a lot more complex, because you have to hold, you have to do all these crazy things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like Highlander mains are kind of like a unique breed, because they're like, we want.
Como esses iframes são bons pra caramba desse ataque em esquiva, né, e ele poder fazer isso na stance ofensiva é bem interessante.
Definitely. So that's what we have for Highlander. Again, as usual, like I'm going to be scouring, the usual places when the reworks go live.
Be there with you.
We'll have a lot of people to talk to. It's going to be super interesting, and we'll figure out where we go from there. But hopefully this will help fix the major issues a lot of players have with Highlander.
É isso.
Get into it a little bit better, and again, so we can able to release this rework. Have a lot of super good fun. So again, leave feedback.
Yes,
if you love it,
wherever.
leave it. If you don't like it, tell me.
Because we read all the things.
Yeah, we do.
I'm gonna jump on a soapbox real quick, but yeah, we see a lot of times like, oh, you guys only listen to Reddit. It's literally not true. I read every comment.
Galera, é assim, isso é o que mudou do Testing Grounds. Todas as mudanças que não falaram vão continuar, entendeu? Não é as mudanças do Celta original. É as mudanças do Testing Grounds, que já tem outras coisas lá, tá?
Look at everything, and it's more your job, but I love doing it too, because I get that direct connection with the players, and sometimes it gets personal, but it's also interesting. But we look at everything. I don't want people to just think, oh, we just look at Reddit, right? It just, like you said, we look at Reddit, we look at like YouTube comments, stuff on Instagram, stuff.
Aí esse é o tipo de coisa que só quando sair o Celta a gente vai ver como vai ficar. E ficar debatendo o Testing Grounds do Testing Grounds, as mudanças das propostas, meu, é muita mudança. Aí quando lança, eles lançam tudo diferente. Mas assim, Jogadores
That is-
competitivos,
I
main
convinced you to do
Celta.
that.
Vai lá,
gives-
testa e dá o
gives me
seu
my
feedback,
therapist
é
to
isso.
talk about.
Right.
Vai no testing
But yeah,
grounds.
so but we do look at all the
Yeah.
feedback constantly.
Yeah.
We get reports from you guys as well. So it's super important that we always have a survey as well that we look at. So there's a lot of sources of feedback. Give us your feedback.
Yeah.
This is how we kind of get to be able to gauge where we're at. And sometimes actually a lot of the time we look at it and go, this worked, this didn't work. And like I said, we're human, right? Sometimes I go, this is gonna be super cool, and then
And it just doesn't
side
work
note
out.
came
Yeah.
across. Like I'm telling you, we were looking at it, like this is actually pretty cool. It kind of fits with what we had before, which was you had a side dodge into kick, you had a guaranteed heavy. We wanted to keep that kind of feeling going, and we're like, yeah, okay, it's kind of cool. And then it goes out to a lot of players, and it's like, well, actually, it's cool, but it's a bit too
Look,
strong.
if I had a nickel for every time in my life I was like, no, I'm dead sure this is exactly how this is going to go down, and then it didn't work out, I'd have a shitload of
Eles só
Exactly,
tão
right. Be super
papagaiando,
Yeah.
não tão
You wouldn't
falando
even
nada
have
de
to work.
útil.
I could afford
Fun
like a
Tá
sandwich.
mó calor,
Yeah.
velho.
No.
O Oni tá até
But
suando
yeah,
na minha
no,
orelha.
it's we read your feedback wherever you put it, so it's always fun and a little ironic when I'm
Yeah.
like reading Instagram comments and they're like, they only read Reddit, and I'm like, then how did I read this?
How did I read this? Yeah.
Like, anyway, so yeah, please leave us your feedback wherever. Obviously, we're gonna have a TG mega thread that will start up on the 14th.
Pra quem
you
quiser
can-
dar esse
you can leave your
feedback,
comments
galera,
there,
Reddit
but,
do
yeah,
For
if you
Honor,
came across,
entra
a
lá,
video
tem que
segment
falar
on
inglês,
TG on Instagram,
coloca lá,
give your feedback.
Yeah.
Like,
dê seu
I wanna
feedback,
give it to the man.
dê sua opinião.
So
Exactly.
anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
Não adianta falar
Just,
só no meu
just,
chat aí,
and
não.
just for on my side, right, I want to give big props to Noel, one of
Yes.
the designers on our team who worked super hard on a lot of this. We all work together on this, right? We're always giving feedback. It's as a team, but generally we have like one designer that kind of works harder at integrating the changes.
Mhm.
And so this time it was Noel, did an amazing job. So thank you very much.
No finalzinho aí, galera, vou dar um breve resumo da live nos 10 minutos finais ali, como sempre, tá?
All right. Well, just to remind you guys again, TG will be live December 14th through December 21st.
21st.
Yes.
Dia 14 de dezembro até dia 21 de
somewhere in here,
dezembro.
I think
É
it's in
quando
the
entra o
roadmap.
testing
Yeah, it's in
grounds
the
aí,
roadmap,
tá?
yeah.
And it's wrong. So 21st, 14th, 21st. It's okay. It happens. Typos. It's 10 keys are hard sometimes. Not really. But no, thank you so much, JC, for joining me on this segment. Thank you for all of you at home for sticking with us through it. But don't go anywhere because we're going to be right back. We got some tournament stuff to talk about, and then we got more stuff after that. So
Uai.
don't go anywhere. Stick around.
Eu acho que o
See
que
some-
importava na live de interessante já foi. Agora eles vão falar desses torneios, mas esses são torneios que infelizmente a nossa comunidade não participa. Não foi por falta de tentativas de minha parte. Já tentei entrar em contato com eles, tal, pedi campeonato sul-americano, não tive sucesso. Na verdade, não tive sequer resposta. Então é isso. Agora, para quem gosta de acompanhar For Honor competitivo aí, eles vão falar um pouquinho dos torneios que estão tendo lá fora, né? Mas acho que é isso aí, galera. Vamos... Eu só vou, por cordialidade, já que eu tô fazendo a transmissão da live dos caras, eu vou esperar eles finalizarem. Quando eles finalizar, eu vou voltar lá na parte dos patch notes, né? Pra gente conseguir detalhar melhor ali. Beleza? Enquanto isso eu vou tomar uma água aqui e já volto.
Welcome back. we got some tournament stuff to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. Nolan, why don't you fill everybody in on what's been happening?
Yes, so thank you, Brian. Yeah, so tournaments, always a fun time. We actually just wrapped up Into the Fray back in October, and big surprise to probably nobody, but Nemesis won, first place, going
Never.
undefeated. They've just been absolutely dominant.
Never won anything.
I mean, so maybe Maybe they're just really good. I think they're pretty good.
We should sow some drama, split them up, and just like to shake it up, right?
Oh yeah, that's
so
a good
like
idea.
if I were to start a rumor that Clutch said Nemesis smells like potatoes.
Oh yeah. Did you hear that, Clutch? I don't know. Maybe you guys need to talk.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Oh man, I don't think you can keep the band together. Have you met this lady named Yoko?
Oh man, yeah, there you go. That's you know what? It's never too late for a Yoko reference. So, but overall though, big congrats to Nemesis out there. And honestly, the whole tournament was amazing. So big shout out to all the people working behind the scenes, everybody organizing the tournament. We had over 350 teams sign up, which is incredible. Like
it's a lot.
Like that's a lot. Those are like 4-man teams.
That's 350 times 4. So we're
Esse maluco pinta unha de azul.
1,300.
I mean, there's some math there that I can't do right now in my head because math is hard. But there's definitely like you got it. Calculator and just
This is the calculator.
You got to go.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Like a little touch of the tism.
A little drop.
Yeah,
little drop.
Just a scotch.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, but in addition to that, we had Pro-Ams wrap up.
Esse é o campeonato que está rolando agora.
Went super well. We heard from our tournament organizers that it was some of the closest matches they'd ever seen in competitive For Honor, which really speaks to our methodology. Because for those of you at home that don't understand what goes into the Pro-Ams, while they are a very casual tournament, we like dig into the data. We look at the stats, you know, and we crunch that down so that we create using like the matchmaking data, so that we look at everybody's personal skill rating and then create very balanced teams. So we have like an ideal number that we try and get every team around, so that combination of like more pro players and more amateur players kind of gets leveled out, so that every team adds up to a certain skill rating. And it seems to work out really well for us because we get really close matches all throughout the brackets. And so it works really well. We're going to have another one coming up soon at the beginning of the new year. So definitely sign up for it because it's a really great way, regardless of your skill level, to experience like really nail biter matches. Right. And that's like what we wanted with the Pro-Ams. Sure. So I do want to recap the winners for this time. So for EU, we had Red Moon, who came in first.
Dos campeões
aí. Runners up were Pasta Vodka and this one hurts. Gibt kein name.
Não coloca nem na tela o nome dos caras. Só tá lendo lá.
And then for North America, we had the Pro-Am team Smiley Face. Definitely a very choice team name. Didn't cause any confusion at all.
There's definitely not.
And then runners up were Team Shaft. And I Have Memes is Bad. And then for our grand final bragging rights match, Red Moon took that. So EU, I think, remains dominant over NA.
Congrats, Red Moon.
So, good job. And so, if you've forgotten what the prizes for Pro-Ams are, we've got those luscious, nice 3D resin print statues.
O pessoal saiu tudo da live. Ninguém quer saber dos campeonatos whatever gringos que a gente não pode participar.
All the members of the winning team.
Também não faço cobertura, galera. Tipo.
So it's my personal favorite, just like the way it looks.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little jelly. Maybe I should have played in one.
Maybe you should have played. Geez.
I can't. No, it would never happen.
Yeah.
And then our runners-up got some steel, a rizzle of steel. Big shout out to all of our participants. We had a pretty good turnout. The turnout on the Twitch stream was great. It was really fun for me to be in there, interacting with everyone. And again, big shout out to our tournament organizers, Spaniard and Nutella, for all of their work. And like I said, we're going to have another one early next year, in the calendar year. And so look out for that. And if you are a person who is hosting a community-run tournament, and you're like, I would really like official support for this, like some mentions on social media, we can look
Aí, ó, ele tá falando pra gente organizar campeonato, mandar e-mail pra eles e tal. Eu só preciso de player, galera. Não tem mais não tem mais participante pra jogar campeonato.
I messed it up, but it's fine. Anyway, with all of the details of your tournament and why you think it would be a good.
Vou dar o resumo da live daqui a pouquinho, tá? Deixa só acabar.
And so that's everything competitive. I know this update isn't always for everyone, but too bad.
But
we kept it short and sweet and to the point.
Competitive For Honor is awesome. Like, I don't know, I love competitive For Honor. It's like, it's so fun to see like the high level play, the duels, the Dominion matches. I love the Pro-Am format. I love the Conquest mode format. It's just, I don't know, it's a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, and frankly, that's what the Pro-Ams are for. Is if you're like, oh, I don't really know about competitive play, it's like, well, then do the Pro-Am because it's for you.
And you know,
it's for everyone.
You know what's crazy is all those AMs are now pros because they were now in an official tournament.
More pro than they were.
Yeah. That's right.
Let's go with that.
So congrats, you've evolved from AM to pro.
In a little bit, in your soul.
In your soul.
But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back, Nolan and I, again, because we got some more stuff to talk about. So,
cara, eles, eu vou falar pra vocês, galera. Tá um saco fazer essa live aqui, mano, porque não tem nada de útil, tá? Velho, eu já vou encerrar a live. Porque eu vou ficar enchendo linguiça aqui. Como é YouTube, isso aqui eu posso voltar. Eu vou dar um pequeno resumo para vocês. Antes de encerrar aí. Tá? Então o que nós temos aqui? Primeiro. Roadmap. Tá, roadmap. Cadê? Isso aqui é o trailer, né? Do nova skin do Celta. Aqui é o evento. Aqui. Roadmap. Opa. Roadmap. Tá aqui. Então, Roadmap. Dia 7 de dezembro começa a nova temporada. Evento. Frostwind, que é aquele que fica quebrando o gelo lá. Briga, né? Bem legal. Vai ter umas armas. E além das armas desse evento, vai ter armas novas. Tá? Vai ter as armas velhas. Vai ter a arma do evento. E vai ter acesso às armas dos anos anteriores. Certo? Beleza. A skin do Highlander também chega dia 7 de dezembro. É isso que teremos agora na próxima semana, no lançamento da nova temporada. Dia 14 vai ter Testing Grounds. Testing Grounds, teremos PK, Celta e Medjay. Ok? Esses negócios Hero Fest aqui, blá 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 blá, ninguém quer saber. Novo herói só em fevereiro. Novas variações de arma também só em fevereiro. De armadura, desculpa. E é isso. Tá? Aí vamos lá, aqui essa é a skin do Celta, também conhecido como Highlander, beleza? Essa é a skin dele, bem bonita, bem legal, é um Warlordão com uma espada muito louca, então é isso, o Celta com a cara de Warlord, é isso que vai ter, tá? Tem as novas armas aqui, não vou passar, depois vocês podem assistir, beleza? Agora a mudança aqui, ó, nos patch notes, tá? Com relação aos front dodge badge, eita pega, front dodge bashes, né? Eles perderam 100 ms no tracking durante o ataque contra oponentes esquivando, tá? Conqueror, Yomungander e Zanhu agora tem um recovery do front dodge reduzido por 100 ms. Ok. Fala, Adriano, o que isso vai influenciar na minha vida? Basicamente pequenos ajustes para você conseguir dar um bash melhor, é isso, tá? Resumidamente. Medjay, tá? O Medjay ele vai perder imediatamente um pouco de velocidade no dash ataque normal dele. Isso é o que vai entrar agora no jogo. Esqueçam o Testing Grounds. Agora, no jogo, dia 7, o bash do Medjay vai ficar um pouco menos rápido, tá? E o do Tiandi, em comparação, vai ser um pouco melhorzinho. Beleza? É isso. Aí você tem mais o ajuste, que é da Hitokiri. A Hitokiri, ela vai ter o Endless Myriad e a sequência de ataques pesados dela. Ela vai ganhar Hyper Armor agora muito mais rápido. Ou seja, você usar a sequência de ataques pesados da Hitokiri vai ser muito melhor. Você dificilmente vai ser interrompido agora. Ok? Então, caiu de 300 ms para 100 ms. Ou seja, quase instantâneo. Né? Ajustaram as trajetórias de todos os ataques pesados dela, ou seja, o Endless Myriad vai ter muito mais efetividade em teamfight. Vou entrar lá e vou testar na minha live, afinal o pai aqui é Rap 70 de Hitokiri. O Meikai Rift é o light finalizador da chain dela. Ele tinha uma postura de Hyper Armor, não terá mais. É um nerf. Mas ninguém usa isso. Por que você não usa isso? O dano não é bom e o recovery é ridículo. Se o cara esquivar, ele te garante um guard break. Totalmente inútil isso, né? E previsível. E agora o Chain Link Timing do Ray Kick do Light Attack, ele diminuiu. Ou seja, você vai dar um Light Attack no cara, você consegue dar o chute mais rápido. Porque antigamente você dava um Light Attack, dependendo, né, da situação, o cara podia te dar um outro Light Attack e interromper o seu chute. Então esses são os buffs da Hitokiri. Entenderam aí, meus queridos? Vamos lá. Testing Grounds. O Testing Grounds, você vai ter primeiro o Testing Grounds da PK. Ele não escreveu, né? Ele só falou. Então eu vou tentar resumir de cabeça. A PK vai ganhar um bash para aplicar o bleed. Por quê? A PK ela é ótima em X1 e ela é muito fraca em teamfight. Por quê? Você, o cara te coloca no externo, defende seus lobbies, você não tem como abrir o cara. Então agora você vai ter uma opção de abertura que vai ser um bash que vai garantir um bleed. É isso. Um bash lento, tá? Não é um bash para ser usado em X1, é um bash para você dar nas costas do cara que está distraído lá. Beleza? Não sei quanto isso vai dar de vingança, né? Olha aí, ó, esse bash aí. Esse bash aí, ó, garante um light attack e vai dar um bleed. Essa é a principal mudança na Hitokiri. Além disso, ela vai... Isso é detalhe, isso aqui é testing grounds, tá? Desculpa, não é patch notes. Já avancei. Estamos no testing grounds, isso aqui vai ser testado. Então, tá, só o Rafão me correu do TNG. Ele é um nerf para ele não ficar dando palmada atrás de palmada, tá? Eu falei que foi um buff, né? Falei errado. Enfim, voltando aqui para Rito. Para Rito não, para PK. Então ela vai ter esse bash aí, que vai garantir um bleed para facilitar na teamfight. Além disso, o zone dela vai consumir menos estamina e os heavy ataques dela tem uma hitbox melhor. Isso foi o resumo da PK. Agora o resumo aqui da Medjay. O Medjay vai ter mudanças interessantes, porque o light attack dele, do Staff Mode, né, que é com bastão, não vai ter mais Hyper Armor. Então ele não vai ter mais Hyper Armor infinita, ficar batendo que nem um louco com Hyper Armor. Você vai ter que escolher a hora certa de bater, porque o light attack não vai ter Hyper Armor. Você vai poder trocar as stances no meio dos golpes, não vai precisar mais, tipo, ser no recover, né? E além disso, um light finalizador. Um light finalizador da stance de machados. Esse light finalizador, ele vai ter um perseguidor. Ele vai ser perseguidor. Certo? Basicamente é isso do Medjay. E do Celta. O Celta continua as mudanças que já vinham sendo propostas. Então, assim, do último Testing Grounds, eles adicionaram essas pequenas mudanças, que é o quê? Ele consegue esquivar agora mesmo na stance ofensiva, tá? E o recover, quando ele entra nessa stance, é tipo quase instantâneo. Então ele consegue entrar na stance e já esquivar, para pegar quem tenta interromper ele com um light attack quando ele entra na stance. Além disso, o negócio do agarrão dele lá mudou. Né? O agarrão tinha tipo, ficado muito rápido, não lembro, porque eu não cobri muito esse rework do Celta aí. Eu só gosto de cobrir o rework depois que ele está pronto. E basicamente é isso, né? Basicamente é isso. Então, galera, vamos ver se eles estão finalizando aqui. Finalizando a live agora. Né? Aí, já finalizaram. Beleza. Não perdemos nada de útil. Então é isso. Essas são as principais mudanças. Essa foi o Warriors Den, galera. De todas as coberturas da minha vida, essa foi a que a gente teve menos engajamento aí. Então queria agradecer os que ficaram, os que participaram. Infelizmente, o For Honor tá perdendo espaço, tá perdendo jogador, tá perdendo view, tá perdendo tudo. Mas seguimos aí firme e forte na tentativa de dar uma erguida no jogo e pelo menos manter a comunidade ativa. Então eu agradeço a presença de todos vocês, tá? Desculpa por eu não ter ficado trocando ideia durante a live, porque eu preciso passar informação, não consigo me concentrar em tanta coisa ao mesmo tempo. Mais informações a gente discute na minha live lá, na Twitch, ok? Galera, obrigado, um abraço a todos e até a próxima.